right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the LA Volleyball Podcast. Last time we had Coach Carlos Gray from Palisades High School. This week we have the Carson Colts head coach, Ralph Mertens. Coach, thanks for taking the time to come on.
It's my pleasure. It's an honor.
Thanks. How has the quarantine been treating you and your family?
Well, I mean, I think like every family, you just get to spend a lot of time together. In my case, I have two kids who live out of state, and one's here right now from Boise. The other one's flying in from Austin, Texas. So we're celebrating my grandson's first birthday and my wife's birthday as well. So it's, we're just hanging out in the house and having a good time.
For sure. I mean, it's been nice to have family home, family together. Yeah, for sure.
The fact that, my daughters have to work remotely. So, I mean, that's why they're able to fly out here. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the vacation time. So, Blessing, very, very blessed.
For sure. So, you're one of the older coaches in the city. You don't look a day over 25, but you're definitely one of the older coaches in the city. I would consider you to be a volleyball guru, right? How did you get your start in volleyball?
I'm glad you asked. Real quick background. My parents were born in Indonesia, and they grew up during the Second War. But they were not kids of native Indonesians. And so, the Japanese had occupied the islands. And because they weren't natives, they basically got kicked out. So they went to the Netherlands, which is, anything is a far cry from the tropical islands. It's very cold. And so a lot of the Dutch Indonesians decided to come to America and to keep their culture alive because they're learning a new language, new culture. What they did was they played volleyball. They formed teams here in LA, in San Jose and San Diego, and they'd have tournaments every 6 months. So as long as I can remember, the stories are that the parents would put playpens in the corners of the gym, and all the babies, me included, would be in there. So as long as I can remember, I hear volleyballs bouncing. So that was my introduction. And, I grew up in the 70s, 80s. There was, not that I know of, any club volleyball for boys. So I didn't start till high school. But I got to play with my dad's club. Ironically, my mom's club, they played different clubs, practice at Eagle Rock. So that's a shout out to Tim there, and a great program. But yeah, I played in high school. Back then it was only 10th, 11th, 12th grade, so it was 3 years. And Carson High is full of Islanders, a lot of Samoans. They love volleyball, and I just kind of tagged along and watched. We didn't play anything fancy. I think a 6'2" is what we ran. Kind of get well-rounded that way.
Wow. That's interesting. I didn't feel so. You got a volleyball family. That's pretty cool.
But the fanciest thing we ran was maybe a crossing an X2 play. Well, that was rare because we didn't pass that well, and big guys, they just wanted to hit. So they set high balls in the middle and high balls on the outside and let them bang away.
So your first season with the Colts was, I believe, 2012.
Actually, no. So while I was in college, the mid-'80s, I was going to Long Beach State, and my volleyball coach said, hey, why don't you come back and help me coach? So I was already coaching while I was in college, and when I started officially teaching with the district, I coached at Banning High, 86 through 88.
Wow.
And then I got transferred over to Carson. So I've really been coaching since the 80s. I took some breaks when my kids started getting older and they were playing club. I'd stop coaching, and then I'd stop coaching because I teach math and I want to teach AP calculus, so I took a break. But yeah, I came back to the scene 2012, and that's where I feel like I've probably done my best coaching. My daughters were playing club. I was like a sponge, and I was watching every club coach. I went to every practice, and I think I gained more, I feel bad, than my daughters did from playing, or as much as my daughters. My daughters played, and I learned. I learned Long Beach Mizuno, even Starlings, LA Starlings, Brian Gimalero's club. I watched him. Debbie Green. Well, I forget her married name, but I was just like a sponge. And so when I came back in 2012, I was a different coach, definitely.
For sure. We've kind of gone through the LA City section. There are coaches and from their different areas, and Tim's had his own area, and Cena, and obviously Carlos, and Will over at Verdugo. So I think it's really cool how we're getting into this Carson section, because I think it's a whole huge part of history for the city section we're going to unravel right now, right? So
Yeah.
I think the first big season was 2012. I don't know if compared to you.
Well, yeah. Try to think. 2012. So my first year back. I mean, we got eliminated 2 years in a row in the playoffs by our league rival San Pedro.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, 2014 was just bursting through. I could feel it coming. I didn't expect it to happen that fast. So within 3 years of coming back, I was more looking at maybe 5 years. But Jordan was there with the rest with Wellington, so yeah, that was a amazing experience.
Right. So let's dive in a little deeper on those 3 years, right? So in 2012, you guys went 20-12, 10-2 in league. You had some great talent in Greg Veracruz. You got the number 8 seed in the Division I playoffs. Fell short in round 2. So what was that kind of first of 3 seasons like?
It was a big adjustment because the previous coach, Christy North, what happened was she was going to get displaced. She's an English teacher. And so she asked me to take over the program. She didn't want it to fall apart. And I had no plans of coming back. So I had to think long and hard and sit down with my wife. Do I want to go through all the recertification, the first aid, CPR, and all that stuff? And I said, you know what? I want to do it. This might be my last time coaching before I retire. And then she didn't get displaced. So there was kind of this little tough, I'm now the head coach. You used to be the coach. I kept the staff. I didn't want to change the staff. So Christy was still on staff, Gerald, and a guy named Ezer. And so that first year was a struggle because the boys, their loyalties were like, well, Ms. North was my coach, but now Ralph is the coach, and I changed things. I had a whole different mindset. We've always had talent at Carson, and I wanted to raise the level, obviously. So the first year was frustrating losing because it was our league rival. The guys, I honestly don't think they believed in me fully. That I learned watching at Long Beach Mizuno, Joy McKenzie and all the coaches. They were very detail oriented. And granted, it was a girls' club, but I thought, well, I don't care that these are guys. I want them to learn technique, where their hips are facing, where their toes are pointing, their shoulders. I mean, I got down in nitty gritty, and it was very frustrating because guys, they just want to hit the ball. Mm-hmm. So that first year was a lot of learning to trust each other. The second year, 2013, I remember we again got eliminated, and what was sad is it was at home. So we were the higher seed, and it was the Pedro again. Mm-hmm. And in the 5th set, we were down 14-12, and we come back to 14-13, and there was so much excitement, and guys were rotating in and out. Well, a guy rotated in behind me without my knowing. I had taken him out because he got hit in the face, so I was afraid of a concussion. Mm-hmm. But he subbed himself back in. It was just kind of human nature. He'd been doing it all season. Problem is, with all the excitement, he was supposed to go back and serve, and he didn't serve. And so we had the wrong server, and so that's how we lost that match, 15-13. But I remember at that banquet, I said, this is up until that time, 2013 was the best team I'd ever coached. Wow. You talk about the talent and the trust. And if I had them one more year, and a lot of those guys did, of course, come back. But I think we graduated 7 or 8 seniors on the 2013 team. So each year we got better in league, 10-2, then 11-1. And then we went on a string of going undefeated. starting with 2014 for about 4 years, 2-3 years. No, sorry, 2-3 years.
I mean, you lose to San Pedro twice in the playoffs. That's
Yeah,
got to be heartbreaking. What do you tell your kids after that second loss?
it was stunning, stunning. Like I said, the way it happened. I remember a lot of those guys are in my math class. It was an AP calculus class. I think three of the varsity, and we were, it was at the end of the school year. I think they had already taken their AP test. So one day I just pulled them off to the side. We sat in a circle and said, "What the heck happened?" It just fell apart so quickly. The emotions got the best of me. The crowd was into it. So, I mean, it was nothing to say to the seniors. It was, like I said, I told them I thought they were the best team I'd ever coached up until that point. But the returners just had so much hunger. Jordan and Wellington, the key guys,
Mm-hmm.
That off season was amazing. The amount of intensity that they came with during the fall.
Mm-hmm. In 2014, I mean, this is the year. Jordan's a senior. You've got Neil Titano, Alan Zalea, obviously Wellington, Noah Titano. This is a loaded team, right? And it definitely showed. You guys went 36-11, 12-0 in league. Your boys are locked in. So what are some of the things that you worked on that year that may have plagued you in years past?
So being the third year, there were no more trust issues. They truly understood what I wanted and why I wanted what I wanted. A lot of structure, a lot of discipline. Some of the key things was communication. I'm big on that. I have a hard time watching teams play that don't talk on the court. But every team's different. Their personality. I see teams that are very successful. They hardly say a word to each other. And that's just not me. And I demand, loud talking on the court in practice, calling balls and this and that. So the trust finally came when it came to that stuff. Like you said, like your player said, there was a lot of high balls. We weren't worried about being fancy. We just tried to execute the basics. I had 3 or 4 guys playing club. So Wellington and Jordan played together with the guys from Long Beach State, Josh and Mr. DeFalco there. So they had some awesome coaching, that I benefited from. But what was interesting was the Redondo preseason tournament. We were in the same pool as Granada. Mm-hmm. And I remember very distinctly being really kind of upset that they put us in the same pool. I didn't want to play them. Mm-hmm. But it was a blessing because even though we lost that first set, we won the second set. I think it surprised Granada, and we almost won the third set. We almost beat them in pool play. And so obviously down the line, that was huge when we met them in the city championship. We went to Vegas and stunk it up, and they were horrible. Horrible. It was a horrible experience. Vegas was horrible. And then we went to the Taft/Chatsworth tournament. Are you still there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm good.
Okay. And I won't name the person, but somebody who's very well respected in the LA City Volleyball before the tournament said, "Yeah, Chatsworth's the team this year. They've got the player of the year." And I thought, okay. So we looked at the pools. Then me and Gerald, my assistant, we went off campus to go eat. And we're like, let's do this, And we beat Chatsworth in pool play. And then in the semifinals, we had to play Lakewood, who had a really good player, Storm, who went on to BYU. And
that guy was good.
He was just dominating us. And Gerald gave the motivational speech of his life. And we came back to win. And then in the finals, we had to play Chatsworth. I'll never forget. We were down like, I can't even remember. It was set point. It was match point for Chatsworth, and Armin was already walking out with the trophy. And Jordan was sick. Christian was sick. Christian was on their barrel. Somehow we pulled that out. We won that championship. So here we are. We almost beat Granada in Redondo. We beat Chatsworth twice. We go to Silmar, we lose to Chatsworth in the final, but, Silmar is just a one-set final. So that was very frustrating because it's like 15-12, 15-13. So,
Hmm.
uh, West Valley is such a dominant league, but we had held our own. We really consistently, it wasn't luck, and those were the keys, was just battling it out, trusting me trusting them, and them trusting each other.
So, they get to the playoffs, you guys get the second seed, you breeze through Bell, you breeze through Birmingham, and you finally make it to the semis for, I believe, the first time in your career
Oh
at
yeah,
Carson, right? So it must have been a crazy moment.
definitely for me. Yeah.
Mhm. Go for it. So,
Yeah, fortunately, it was at home and Chatsworth again, and I feel really bad because their best player, I can't think of his name right now. You had two younger brothers do you know who I'm talking about?
Garrett DeGrasse.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, at the Taft Chatsworth, he was dominating just like Storm, and we weathered that. We just, one of the things we do in practice a lot, and I'm assuming a lot of teams do, is play the deep ball 4-on-4, and we just practice a lot of digging back row attacks with no block. When we're doing the king of the court drill or whatever you call it. And so when every time he was in the back row or Storm was in the back row, we said no block. Let's king of the court. This is like
Wow.
practice.
That's
Let's dig
crazy.
this guy. Let's
Wow.
go three. Let's get our three back row guys straight across, three across, and let's dig this guy. And so I think at some point, he started to tire out. And we played good defense, and it wasn't easy though. We had to battle. I think we won in 4 in that semis, but yeah, to get to the semis and then to actually win it was just surreal. We coaches looked at each other like, this is really happening. Third, like I said, I didn't expect that in 3 years.
Wow. So you pull out the win in 4. Very close match, I got to add. Carson makes the
Yes.
finals, and your opponent is none other than the number 1 seeded Granada Hills, who you saw at the Redondo tournament. What was your game plan going in, and what kind of things did you take away from your earlier loss to them?
Well, I'm not as when you say game plan, it makes me think of Armin. Armin, I think, puts together something for his players, and uh, I'm still trying to achieve his status. We remember what happened with Granada. I wasn't that big on film. Not that I'm not big, but there's just so little time, and I want to use every minute I have on the court. And yeah, I could call the guys in during nutrition and watch, or lunch, and watch some film, but they have a life too. I want them to just be kids. So we remembered that we played pretty much very evenly with Granada for the most part. That first set, we had a decent lead, and then they went on a 10-0 run, and we had problems with their outside. Our right side block was weak, was our weakest link. And I tried to make some substitutions. But, obviously jitters was another issue with that first set. But there was no panic, I remember switching sides and just talking to my coaches, like, do we need to make a lineup change? And no, we just got to play better. At this point, we are who we are. Watching some of the film again, I haven't watched all of it, but it's kind of a lot of errors.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of errors. I think a lot more so from Granada than they're characteristically used to making, which obviously helped us. But we just tried to spread the ball around. Obviously, when it was obvious that Jordan, pretty much they couldn't stop him, and that was our go-to guy. But what really I like about the second set, which was the key, was for our set point in set 2, we got a high set to Wellington, and they had their double block, and so he hit smart. He hit high off the block, and the ball went deep, and they were able to recover it, but they were out of system. And our setter was up front. So when they sent the ball over, they set it short to the area 2 or zone 2. So my setter, Neil, had to take the ball. And what I'm really proud of is that he got nice high ball off the net. and my middle, Noah, his brother, the sophomore, takes it with his hands. And I've taught these guys, everybody learn how to set. Everybody learn how to set. So he's facing Neil. He's got his back to the outside. He takes his hands and he puts a nice high ball, back set. And Wellington, this time he hits a nice cut shot down the line. So there's so many like fundamentals there in that one play, hitting high off the hands, setting with your hands, hitting down the lines. And, when we won the second set, so our first win, that was a big, big boost of morale. It's like, okay, we're in this, because that 10-0 run in set one was a little deflating. It kind of made us question, or made me question, but we had to trust what we had been doing. And so the trust was rewarded with that second set win.
So, I mean, Drake Youth, John Badiki, these guys were killers at Granada Hills, right? So you win your first championship. I mean, this must be a great feeling. What was the feeling like?
Yeah, those guys, man, when I watch the tape and I see their middles, they look so dominating.
Oh, yeah.
There was a play, I don't remember what set, I don't remember which middle, but he ran outside to the right to double block. They dug it up. He runs back along the net, does a 360 to get in front of the setter and jumps and kills the ball. I almost stood up and applauded that play. I had never seen that in high school. I don't even think I've seen it in college, the way he ran that route. And I talked to Tom about that afterwards. He goes, "Oh, we practice that all the time." And I'm like, man, that was just amazing, And I just wish, the only thing I didn't like is after we won, they had the ceremony. They basically kicked us out of the gym. They turned the lights out. And they sent the fans out the entrance that they came through, but the team had to go out the back entrance to the bus. So we never got to hang out with the fans outside the school. And when we got back to Carson High, well, a lot of fans went home. And I complained about that at the next meeting, that, that wasn't fair to any team, but especially us being the first one. But yeah, you're just speechless, because you go, did it really happen? And you're looking at the medal, you're looking at the trophy. Did we really beat Granada, defending champs? I think they had won 5 out of the last 7.
Wow.
What a great program, So, again, it goes back to the trust in each other and what I believe is a system that works for high school boys.
I mean, the season just didn't stop there, right? You did have a state game to play after against Loyola. So
that was the hard thing. We really didn't. So we didn't get to really celebrate, because you come down from the high Saturday or Sunday just feeling exhausted. Monday was a school holiday, but we practiced. And then we have to play Loyola. And because of a fluke, we get the home game, even though I think we were the 7th seed. Yeah. We got the home game. So Loyola comes to us, and our gym we had no AC. It was hot. And, Loyola is such a polished team. It's like Pally, it's like Huntington Beach. And we fought, and I remember Jordan looking at me like, every shot that was working against Granada was not working against Loyola. So just keep battling. And I remember set 3, Loyola coach did us a favor and put in his subs. And we had to scratch and claw to win 25-23. And then he put his stars back in. And but it was it was a good experience to say, hey, we made it to the state. We played, the second best team basically in the state, I think. And it was a good introduction to just that next level of volleyball.
That must have been fun, yeah. I mean, Jordan Molina is the only player to my knowledge who's won a city championship, community college championship, and a national championship. There probably have been others, but I don't really see any right now. So, I mean, what's it like coaching this guy? I mean, he's playing with TJ, he's playing with Josh Tuaniga. What is it like coaching this kind of talent?
So his his family's all Carson grads, just like myself. So I know his mom, his dad. I played basketball with his dad, his uncles. So there's a familiarity. And but I didn't know him growing up. But him and his cousin Christian, who's our libero, for whatever reason, they switched from playing basketball to volleyball. And super competitive guy. Story I always like to talk about is, he's got several yellow cards. In fact, even in the championship, there's a time where he's so frustrated he just pounds the ball into the ground. I don't know if he got a yellow card then, but he got a couple during the season. And he's fiery. And, times the emotion gets the best of him. And one time I remember yelling at him while he was on the court, do you want to ref or you want to play? No, make up your mind. You can't do both. And and the gym is kind of silent. And he yells right back at me, I want to play. I'm like, good. All right. He's just everything. He's all out, And I remember when he was making that transition to Long Beach State, I said, man, trust in your abilities. Don't worry about your height, your background, Carson High. And he just was willing to work. That's all I kept hearing from the parents of Josh, and Wellington, is that he was constantly working on his game, working out in the weight room, getting better. And it's just a tribute to him, that he did and was able to accomplish what he did.
A crazy guy, crazy athlete. Whether you're in high school, whether you're watching him in college, any level he's playing on is super fun to watch. Right, so I think everyone should go out and watch some Jordan Molina, whether he's hitting, whether he's passing. The chain of success would carry throughout the next year. I mean, this isn't where Carson's success stopped. Carson had a really tall squad in, I believe, 2015. 29-13 was your record, another 12-0 league record. Palisades meets you at the city finals, but this time, the game doesn't have a storybook ending as the year before. You guys go down 0-2, come back and make it 2-2, and lose a close fifth set, 15-12. What kind of lessons did you and your team take away from that experience?
Oh, like you said, we had a really tall team. One of the biggest problems, one of my middles got into some trouble right before playoffs. And I had to decide, am I going to let him slide, or am I going to be consistent with the discipline that I had demanded and expected throughout the season? And I know that life goes on after volleyball, so I had to discipline him and I had to remove him from the roster. And so that was one of my starting middles. And then one of Jaden, my big-time tall setter, our school had a beach trip the day before the finals. Mm-hmm. And I told the guys, hey, just have fun, but don't get carried away. Well, he wanted to play football in the sand all day, and he was sick. So, we did not go in 100% full strength with the finals, but we still had our chances. I had to make a lineup switch, and they were kind of dominating us in the middle because I had to put an undersized middle in place. Jaden wasn't operating at full strength. So then I think it was the third set, I made a lineup change and then put in one of my smaller setters. And I kicked myself because I should have done that earlier. I would have moved Noah from outside back to middle because he was so very good at middle. Yeah. The hardest thing about that was I always tell my boys, when you do something once, like when they get a kill, whether it's practice or game, if they do it once, I tell them, that's luck. Do it a second time, then I know it's skill. So that's kind of how I took away the loss to Pally. It's like, yeah, we won last year, but this winning it a second year would have validated everything, and it doesn't take away from what the team did. It was a personal feeling. I know we all know that we fell short, but Pally, man, it's such a talented squad with those freshmen.
Yep.
And already so smart, hitting line shots and using the hands. Basically what Jordan was doing to us, they were kind of doing, what Jordan did to Granada, they were kind of doing to us. And Shane Stoklow's on the right side. Their right side was abusing our left side. And I kept telling our left side, he's going to hit line. He can hit line. I was watching tape. I started watching tape because we hadn't seen Pally. And that was, a couple missed serves that fifth set, a down ball into the net, Well, we played, for what we had, we did the best we could. And, it's just, it's sad that we couldn't repeat.
I don't mean to rip a Band-Aid off off an old wound. But no, you guys were great that season. Like I said, tall, very skilled. I think you guys were the number 2 seed, very well deserving of the number 2 seed, if I may say.
No, we were actually the 1 seed, believe it or not. I don't know. Renee, back then they changed the seeding, and Renee did some talking in the meeting. And we had the 1 seed. But, yeah, that's one of the tallest teams I've ever had. And like I said, one of the middles, we normally don't have any guys over 6, let alone 6'2", 6'3". We had Jaden, we had Allen, we had CO. Wellington was a decent size. So, knows, it was crazy for Carson Volleyball to have somewhat decent size on the team.
In 2016, right, you guys went 30-10, which was the record just keeps getting better. So what were your expectations going into the 2016 season, now having graduated Wellington?
Yeah, Wellington was the gift. He came in with me. He was a 4-year starter. He was already playing club with TJ and Josh. So when he left, the good thing is he had set the example for 4 years in a row, consistently hardworking. And the guys that were returning, they kept up that tradition. Jaden, Noah, Justin Uwe. Unfortunately, the setter that the other setter I used in the city championship in 2015, he didn't come back 2016. That was a big blow because now I had to either go with Jaden all the way around, which I didn't want to. And I ended up moving one of my outsides to setter, and I'd never set before, but he was super athletic, and his willingness to give up the outside, because everybody likes playing outside, everybody likes to kill, and he was one of the best jumpers. But his willingness to work hard helped our season become as good as it was. Go ahead.
Justin Uwe was a spectacular athlete. He was a great kid, just all around great human being from what I've heard and seen. And for those of you who don't know, Justin was shot on April 13th, 2016, passed away a couple days later. So from me to you, what was Justin like and how fun was it coaching him?
So Justin comes from a family of volleyball players. His older brother, Andrew, played volleyball. An older cousin, Johnny Chap, played volleyball. And it turns out later on, younger cousins were playing volleyball. So I had him for 4 years. I'm fortunate I'm able to have an off-season class every fall. So I had him as a freshman, and I knew right away. I didn't know about his older brother. It's funny because I did have his older brother as my math student, but I wasn't coaching at the time. So I told Gerald, I said, hey, there's this kid, 9th grader. He's looking really good already. He's looking kind of polished. Oh, that's Andrew's little brother. Hard worker. I mean, he just gave his body. He would have aches and pains, whether it's his back, his knees, his ankles. And I'm like, Justin, slow down. Take it easy. Take the day off or no diving today. Just do the basic. Sorry, coach, I only know one way to play. I want to take it back to 2015 team. He was, junior, starting libero. We were in Las Vegas, and we weren't doing well. We were kind of playing in a meaningless game in one of the small gyms. Well, the small gyms over there are pretty big. So anyway, somebody shanks the ball, and it's going to the back wall. And basically, everybody quit on the ball except for Justin. He's running and chasing, and of course, he dives for it, and he basically slides into the wall. And I look at everybody else on the floor, and those 5 guys, they felt sorry. They quit on the play. I called timeout. I chewed him out. I said, look over there on the floor. Who's over there? That's your teammate. He's over there diving. You guys gave up on the ball. He did it. Well, now it's still 2015, early in the match against Palisades, championship match. Justin goes flying out to where the table where the trophies are, which is by the bleachers, chasing down a ball. What do you know? 5 guys run over there to help him up. They learned the lesson. They realize that he's given his all every play. The first point, the meaningless point, whether it's practice or scrimmage. So that was him on the court. I've also had the pleasure of being his AP Calculus teacher. He was already in AP Calculus as a junior. And just a smart guy, but humble. Things came easy to him. And he could have easily, just said, I'm done with my work. I'm going to do something else. But he was always willing to help other people. And that was another thing about him that everybody liked is that, he was just so humble. He was smart. He was a hard worker. He was talented. But he was just, he just wanted to be one of the guys. His type of a prank is when somebody gets the page on the book and he starts laughing like it's the funniest thing in the world. That was how pure and innocent he was, He was just that type of guy. Mm-hmm. And so 2016, we're playing Eagle Rock at home. And so I was telling you about the setter that I had to convert. He had a monster game against Eagle Rock. He must have had 5 solo blocks on the outside. And the reason why I bring that up is because we were so excited because we finally beat Eagle Rock. I think we had lost to them 2 or 3 times the previous years. So to beat him at home, it was also special. That night was a surprise birthday party for Justin. So after the game, all the guys, Frostsoft, JV, varsity, we go to his house. He doesn't know what's going on. And his sister's fiance is letting him practice driving. He comes home, we're all in there, surprise. We got this on video, people smashing cake in his face. And that was the last happy moment was that video of him, everybody singing happy birthday. Because, it was either that night or 2 nights later when that horrible incident happened.
Mm-hmm. I know the Chatsworth tournament was soon after, and we played you guys in the semifinals, and Van Nuys was okay. We were okay, and I definitely don't think we deserved to win that semifinal match. But I think it's one thing you could definitely tell that Carson was not Carson that day. And I would go up to Noah, and I didn't even know him. And I was just like, hey, like, hope everything's all right. Like, we're praying for you guys.
Yeah.
But that was, even to play against you guys was tough. It was just tough because everyone knew what was going on. It was just tough. So how did you guys end up, filling that kind of void to finish the season?
It was amazing how every match after that, the opponent team had started. I think our very first league match was at Banning. I remember Martha, the Banning coach, said, "Hey, coach, the boys want to do something special. Is that okay with you?" I said, "Sure." So we actually started with we got in a big circle. We opened up with a prayer. And pretty much every match after that, something special happened, whether it was a prayer or I remember at Van Nuys, you guys had posters up. When we played Pally in the semis, they had their parents made wristbands with Uwe's name on it. It was just amazing. And even schools that we hadn't played, they were sending me pictures. Granada Hills, Locke High School. They were sending pictures, and the team was putting up, the 2 and the 4 because that was his number. So the outreach from the volleyball community throughout the city was amazing. Of course, within the Marine League. In fact, at the hospital in Narbonne, the coach, Sophia, came with a bunch of her players. They brought food. That was the kind of support that helped the team move on, or not move on, but just go forward. I remember that tournament because it was the first tournament after the incident. We hadn't had to play an all-day tournament. And also what made that emotional was that former coach Christy North, who had moved up north, she came down. So that was a surprise for the boys because she's the mom. She's the mom, and a lot of those boys, was I remember I took pictures of them seeing her for the first time and just hugging it out. And yeah, I guess in a way they kind of went through the motions. They gave everything they had, but there was a lot of they didn't realize how much energy it took to keep going. And for the whole day, it was tough. And but there was never any complaining. There was never any woe is me. I mean, there was definitely some times of getting together and thinking about Justin and sharing memories and stuff. But we knew what he was about as far as playing, and in his family, his parents were amazing. They were constantly were encouraging us. It felt really weird. The parents were encouraging the boys all the time.
I mean, Noah and Jaden were killers out there. I mean, you guys were definitely a difficult team to play. When we saw you guys back in the playoffs, that was a different Carson team, if I may add. Definitely caught us off guard. Not that we thought we were going to face the same team, but you guys came out swinging. It was tough to play, right? So, and again, Noah and Jaden were killers. In 2017 and 18 were good seasons for the Colts, again, record-wise, but you guys fell short in the playoffs both years. And these squads weren't as tall as they were the years before. But 2019, those freshman and sophomore had grown up, got a little bit of playoff experience. But the thing is, the 2019 Colts did not have you listed as their head coach, right? They had Gerald listed as the head coach. So what kind of brought you to make that decision?
So when I came back in 2012, like I said, I didn't change the coaching staff. I mean, it's hard enough to find, as you know, city coaches to volunteer for what little money we get with the time constraints. So I remember I sat down with Gerald and I talked with him, and I had a really good feeling about him. And I had watched him coach the previous years under Christine North. I said, look, I'm not going to be coaching for a long time. I'm thinking 5 years. My plan is, I want to turn the program over to you. I've turned the program over 2 or 3 times before. Like I said, I've been at Carson since officially 91 teaching, but I had coached there prior to then while I was in college. And there was times where the program shifted hands and it went backwards or it went sideways. So I told Gerald, I want to turn it over to you in 5 years, and I want you to take it beyond where I'm taking it. You're young and you got energy, and well, it didn't exactly go along that timeline. 5 years wasn't right for him. I wasn't ready to turn it over yet because the success came so quickly. 14, 15 was a little disappointing. 16, we had the issue. So I wanted like one more shot. I wanted one more that glory. So 19 was right for both of us. It was good in his life, and I was ready. So he had, the previous girls season, he was at San Pedro, and he won a city championship there on his own. So I willingly took a back seat. I did a lot of the administrative stuff, trying to run 3 teams. There's a lot of paperwork. And just trying to keep everything in order. And I've always, even when I had JV and Frostoff coach, I've tried to give them the freedom. I wasn't constantly looking over their shoulders. So if I wasn't doing it with them, then I'm not going to do it with my most trusted assistant, who's now the head coach. I did have my say every now and then, but he obviously has learned a lot. And his experience with the girls at San Pedro gave him a lot more confidence. And so it was a great culmination for those freshmen. Those guys the seniors were freshmen when Justin Nui was the senior. Mm-hmm. So they were still there when things were going good with and the work ethic was there. You mentioned 17 and 18, and some of those guys took it for granted that they were wearing the Carson jersey, and they didn't understand the work that needed to be put in. In fact, the 19 team didn't either. Gerald and I had to have a a good chewing out session. We spent half of a practice getting in their faces, telling them that the only link to the past success was me and Gerald. None of them had any thing. They could not claim anything to the success of 14, 15, 16. And it woke them up because they realized they had to step up. You know, they were looking at the coaches' polls. And they're like, oh, you know, we got ranked fourth. And like, that's just reputation. You have done nothing to earn that. And that was Gerald too. I mean, you know, Gerald was on their cases. He was really good about that. So he lit the fire, and we had a great. We didn't have size, you know, we not across the board, but we definitely had the chemistry in the heart.
I mean, you still played a vital role in that whole team, right? So you guys went 37-11. Again, the records just keep going up. 37-11. That's a crazy record going into the playoffs. But the Silmar tournament finalists, right? You also made the CV tournament finals, and you ended up winning that, beating Thousand Oaks. And let me just say, for those of you guys that haven't seen this match, it's on YouTube. But Thousand Oaks is a humongous team, right? They were huge. I don't think there was a guy. I think there was maybe one guy on Carson that was taller than their shortest player. They were huge, right? I don't know. And Van Nuys also attended this tournament. Carson beat us the day before, I believe, in pool play in 3 sets. But still, I mean, that was a crazy win. How did you guys pull that out?
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't there that day. I can't remember what it was. Might have been a family obligation. But here's the great thing. Gerald, you know, I could trust him. And I had already turned over the team to him. But even in previous years, even in 12, 13, 14, actually, we were doing spike-off tournaments in the off-season. And a lot of times I had to leave or I couldn't make it because my mom was ill. And I knew I could leave Gerald in charge. And he has won so many tournaments, whether it's with the Frostoff, the JV. He won a tournament with the varsity, I think, in 17 at Culver City. And then he won with the varsity the CV tournament. Yeah, I wish I was there. I can only watch the video as well. But, you know, the thing about what we try to teach is just be consistent, play defense like crazy. You know, frustrate those hitters, frustrate them because they're pounding the ball. We're not blocking them, but we're digging them. And we might not be insistent, but we're just going to keep returning the ball. And, you know, I mean, we did get some blocks. I know that. You know, they had some stud hitters. But I think after a while they got frustrated. And, you know, that momentum thing just kicks in and the grit and the heart of the team. It was amazing to watch on video. I wish I was there personally.
No, for sure. In person, I know my team was just like, "What is going on?" Not that we didn't have faith in Carson, but I mean that Thousand Oaks team was good. They were good.
Yeah, definitely.
You know? So you guys would win that championship, right? Carson gets the first seed going into the D1 playoffs. You get a bye for the first round. You beat Rivera 3-0. You beat Kennedy 3-1. You reach the finals, and you play Alan Hunt, Raul, and their Venice Gondoliers, right? And those two coaches are no strangers to city finals.
I know.
Yeah, how did the match play out?
Legends.
Yeah. I would describe them as legends. Yeah. So how did that match play out, and what did you guys do to prepare?
Well, I think we only had one player to really, I don't want to say worry about, but to focus on. The other, I mean, anybody obviously can get some kills, but the guy that's going to be consistent, you know, again, when he was in the back row, we play so much deep court, king of the court, that it doesn't bother us when you've got a really strong hitter hitting out of the back row. Unless he's hitting 100 miles per hour straight down, like TJ could, we usually can get a hand on the ball. So we really tell our blockers, just stay down, just trust the defense. And we ran a 6-2, but Sean Gallicano is our captain and the heart and soul of the team. He just pushes, whether he's on the court and even from the bench. I mean, he doesn't let anybody let up. We had a transfer from the Philippines that ended up playing libero, who's just lights out, just touching, getting hands on balls left and right.
That kid was great. That kid was great.
Yeah, you know, the chemistry, you know, I want to say half those guys played together as freshmen, you know. And we had two guys that were on the bench all season, but they're just their contribution to the team spirit, from day one in practice and on the court during timeouts, and Gerald made so many great decisions. He's a great motivator. Uh, I always call myself the bad cop, so I'm always looking for ways they need to fire it up, because I'm always feeling like they're not working hard enough, not diving enough, not yelling loud enough. And we have this good balance. He
Mhm.
balances out. He's the good cop. I'm the bad cop. I always like to call it. And yeah, Alan, they try to pull some sneaky stuff, trying to put a setter in, but not a setter. And probably early in my career, I wouldn't catch that stuff. But it was pretty. I was able to catch it, and the guys, because a lot of them played for 4 years, they knew what I was talking about. If I told them the setter was not up front, or he acted like he was up front, or he's coming from the back, but he's not coming from the back. Little things just from experience. Yeah, if it was earlier in my career, I wouldn't have caught that stuff.
Yeah, that team was pretty. I mean, they were pretty good. They beat us in the semifinals, but their oppo was going off. He's
Yeah,
a good player. Ian Dunapace, great kid,
yeah.
who's playing, I believe, Santa Cruz right now.
Oh, okay.
So, great athlete. You guys were city champs once again. I believe in 4 sets, led by Richard, Sean, Amiri, and Corey. Fantastic season, but it didn't stop there. You guys were given the second seed in the Division III state playoffs. So at what point did you realize that you could go all the way?
Uh, I remember right after that city match, Rene Lopez already knew, Division III. He was telling us to see that blah blah blah. Let's do it. And I'm like, I wasn't even looking that far ahead. Um, we fortunately got to play at home. We were playing schools from San Diego. Tried to watch stuff on video. Um, Probably Gerald watched more, and the boys, definitely the boys. They're on YouTube. They're searching up videos. Me, I'm just focused on what do we do? What do we need to do? And it always goes back to boring stuff, basic stuff. Like I said, I'm so big on communication that I'll chew them out, just for not warming up properly or something like that. I try to keep them grounded. That's what I think is my strength as a coach. And the belief they had in each other, and now the trust is in Gerald. Gerald's trusting them. Uh, it was just a matter of, let's already hurry up and play. We had to wait those days, and we didn't know who we were playing. And you kind of maybe read some of the articles, and maybe you believe the publicity, and you can't really tell the speed or the strength from the video sometimes. But once we came on the court, and we realized that, okay, we're probably evenly matched. It's not going to be a blowout either way, so let's just work hard. And every time we had that mindset, we ended up doing okay.
Mm-hmm. State finals game was a nail biter. Right, Carson would lose a close one to El Modena in 5 sets, 16-14 being the fifth set score. That's so sad. Gosh, that's such a tough match to watch. You can see in the final play, Gerald kind of gets visibly upset. He thinks there's a back row violation, and you kind of walk up to him and you give him a little hug, and you kind of seem to have that feeling of we should be grateful that we got this far. So what was that moment like for you?
Well, I talked to the state official. I said, how is it a state championship? I don't care, it's D3, it's still a state championship. We're playing on a home floor of the, the opponent, So they had an incredible fan cheering section. It was, I think it rivaled some of the colleges, and that really, we were on that side. And at some point we were able to block it out. And did you say you saw the match?
It's on YouTube, yeah.
Okay, so we when we were at 14-13 and the guy hits it out, oh my gosh, and to have to come back down from that because one out of the 4 officials saw a touch, that was really, really hard. And to try to regroup like right away, because I don't think we had a timeout left. I can't remember. Um, that was the hardest thing to do, and but because we had to focus so hard to beat Venice, I remember that was such a hard fight, that fourth set, and I reminded them of that, their ability to focus. And so we came back. I think we tied the score, and we got caught in a horrible rotation. And when they got that last kill, yeah, the heart sank. Um, you know, you thought you had it two rallies before, and now it's just the opposite. We fortunately we got to go into a locker room, visitor locker room, and we got to cry our hearts out. It was bittersweet because that was the night of the prom. So all the seniors, they went home with their parents. They got permission. So the bus was left with the underclassmen, and it was only like half the team, and it was, quiet drive home. And you go, man, it's over. There's no more volleyball to play. It's something hard to comprehend. But it definitely was a season worth remembering. No regrets. They gave everything they had. I mean, Amory was cramping up, on those last points and just battling it out in the middle. And, everybody just played their part, man.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I gotta say, your ring does look pretty nice. It's one of the nicer rings I've seen from boys volleyball.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some pretty bad ones, but that one is definitely one of the nicer ones.
Well, when we ordered the 14 rings, I didn't want the fancy one. I wanted the basic one. But Joe got the fancy one. And when I saw it, and then I saw his Pedro ring. I said, oh, heck no. Give me the most expensive one or whatever one that we can afford, man. So, yeah, he took care of that. He was the one that organized the ring choice.
Good job. That's a good job right there. You would eventually take the head coaching job back in 2020. I know Gerald went on to be an assistant at Long Beach City.
Right.
You guys were 7-10 overall this past season. Before the season was cut, you had some injuries, players who were missing. I remember you told me, and you would eventually graduate some stellar seniors. All right. So
Yeah.
what does the future hold for the Carson Colts?
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, all these promising JVs frost off in 2020 didn't even get to play.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I mean, they might have played one tournament, of course, some non-leagues. So it's such a big question mark for next year with the crazy schedule, and our big gym I don't know if it's complete. So we might have to travel about a mile away and play in the Veteran Sports Complex, which is actually a nicer gym, but it's just a hassle. It's a lot of, you're not in your comfort zone. It's going to be an interesting season. I'm trying to think, who are we returning? I've actually not thought about volleyball all summer. I mean, I was in direct contact with them all through the spring semester, but once it ended, I was like, okay, so it's God. I feel like we're going to start almost ground zero.
Wow.
Really, we have 7 returners. And a lot of them, 2020 would have been their first year in varsity.
Wow.
So, they're all JVs in 2019. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be Carson, but it'll be different,
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we'll still have the hard work, the work ethic, but skill-wise, we have 2 guys that are playing or training with clubs, or they're doing the summer clinics. Micah Nui Yandal, he played a big part in 2019 as a sophomore, so he'll be a senior this coming year. Vernon Abui started out on the frost off as a freshman, and last year as a sophomore, we moved him up to varsity. So those 2 are the main key players, and they're both they've played club, and they're going to play club again. And hopefully we get some other guys to play club. Yeah, it's a lot of holes to fill.
I mean, if you have to start at ground zero, I can't think of any other guy to get the job done.
Well,
You know.
It's a tall order. With boys and girls practicing at the same time. Gerald's officially the girls' coach at Carson, so who knows? Maybe we can work something out. We'll help each other out, and then can benefit from having them there as well.
Definitely, definitely. I want to go into some fun questions, right? So every team has their own set of strategies. Every coach has their own set of drills that they like running during practice. So what are some of your favorite drills? I know you mentioned deep court or king of the court. So what are some of your favorite drills?
Well, if it's me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing basic stuff. I call it 5-5-5. And so you got one guy on one side of the net around the 10-foot line. You've got a receiver at the other 10-foot line, and you've got a catcher at the net. So the first 5 throwing free balls, and the receivers just taking them platform passing. And we really emphasize perfect form, perfect pass, and communication. And then the next 5, we're throwing them, and they're taking them overhand digs. And then the next 5 is hitting down balls, and they're using their platform again. And then they rotate. And it's a really boring drill. It's a basic drill. But if they can combat their mind and get past that and realize how key this is, that for me, that's the key to our program. It's not so much a drill, but a philosophy is that I truly believe that I'm training volleyball players. Obviously, we need to focus on each skill, setters and middles and outsides, but I really, really want every player to learn how to set the ball with their hands. Our libero in 2019, he was so scared. Every time he set, he used his platform, and he was setting backwards with his platform, which was so hard for the reader to judge. And I finally got him to use his hands, and he told me his proudest moment in the city championship against Venice is using his hands. So that's one of my philosophies is everybody's got to learn to use their hands, and you can chuck the ball in practice. We're just going to keep playing. We're not calling it tight. Obviously that happened in the games. But I'm a firm believer in teach every skill to every player. The shortest guy might end up being 6'9" and have to, be able to block. And the tallest player as a freshman might not ever grow again, and he'll be the same height as a senior, and he'll end up being back row.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just now really getting into the jump serves. I'm behind on that. So we spent a lot of time on jump serves. I was a really strong proponent. Hey, if you can't serve 5 standing float serves in a row, I don't even want you to think about jumping. But, the game has changed so much. I mean, the overhand receive, the float serves, unless it's a wicked float serve, it's really not effective. So I've had to learn to adjust. And it seems like these last 2-3 years, even more so, things have just constantly evolved. I mean, high schoolers are playing like college players, right? At that higher levels. So
yeah, for sure. That's a good answer. Good answer. Who are some of the best boys players in the city that you've seen during your time at Carson?
Wow. I remember uni. You're talking about other players then,
Yep.
Other schools. Well, I'm going way back. I want to say it's the 80s. There's a coach named Neil Newman at University High, and he had these 2 brothers. And one went on to play at UCLA. Raul, and I can't remember the other guy's name. I think they were from Australia. Those 2 guys were just dominating. Uni dominated for a while there. I'm really bad with names, though. Obviously, those Pally brothers. Oh my gosh. I did not follow. I was out of boys volleyball for a while, so when Granada was making their dominating run and Taft had their, I really wasn't into it. I would only watch Carson play at home because I wasn't coaching. I usually never traveled to tournaments or away matches, so I can only really speak to when I was actively coaching. Yeah, I'm bad with names. Once I hit 40, and I'm going to be about 57. So I can picture them. I can't think of their names, you know.
For
Sorry
sure.
about
This one might be a little easier. So, who are some of your favorite coaches from the city?
that. Oh, favorite. I mean, anybody that's won a city championship, I'm going to try to be their best friend, you know. My players, I tell them, you know, when we go to these tournaments, I don't sit with my players, and it's not because I don't like them. You know, I see them all the time, but I'm going to walk around the gym and I'm going to pick the brains of all the coaches. You know, so obviously, you know, I'm going to talk to Armin. I don't see Tom around as much, but if I see him, I'm going to try to get something from him. You know, and Tim and Alan, Raul. I mean, yeah, I try to talk to anybody and everybody. I remember Cena coming up. I want to say was he at Northridge before Chatsworth?
Who's
I
that?
can't remember. What's that?
Paulie?
Was he at Poly?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember him. I remember having a conversation with him, and I remember him saying, "I want to be where you're at." And sure enough, you know, there he is. Here he is. And so I don't ever want to. I hope I never come off as being, oh, you know, I'm I'm a former city champ coach. So if you're not on my level, I don't talk to you. I hope I'm friendly to all the coaches. The current Poly coach, him and I have a good relationship. We talk. I've gotten to know the Southgate coach and the Bell coach. Yeah, I think you just, to me, this is how I remember it. When my girls were playing club and college, I would, like I said, I was a sponge. I would go and watch practices, and I had enough nerve as a nobody, just some guy, some girl's dad. I would walk up to some of these established coaches and ask them questions, and I'll never forget one of the established coaches from the Santa Barbara Community College. I mean, he's well known on the beach, pro beach. He sat and talked to me for 30 minutes. I mean, and he answered my questions. And I said, you know, this is something cool about volleyball, that I've been able to go up to pros, beach pros, and talk to them, and they'll take the time to talk to me. And hopefully I will do the same. You know, I went to a clinic with Marv Dunphy, and this is at Pepperdine. This is his gym. And the clinic didn't have a big turnout. So there were 2 nets set up, but there was only enough people for 1 net. So to come in and play basketball. And he said, yeah, go ahead. And he turned to us and he said, don't ever let the gym get wasted. He goes, yeah, it's a little distracting, the basketball bouncing. But, I know it showed me his humanness, and as great of a coach as he is, you know, he didn't forget, you know, he's just a human too. And, you don't want people to think, oh, those volleyball coaches, they're jerks. They wouldn't let me play basketball, stuff like that. So I hope that I have that same attitude. I tell my boys, my players all the time, there's always a bigger picture. So
You definitely come off as a nice guy. Don't worry about it.
I appreciate
As a
that.
guy coming up, the first couple of years, I definitely thought you were one of the guys I could come talk to. And every once in a while, you see, I always come up to you, say what's up.
Yeah.
I'll text you what's up, and ask you questions, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I like it.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
I'm really happy for you. I mean, you're doing some awesome stuff,
I
man.
appreciate that. Appreciate. I'm trying.
Hey, you're like the next Cena. I see you coming up, man. I see. The thing is, you're putting in the work. You know, there's no shortcut. I mean, yeah, you can get some stud athletes and you can get some transfers, but you still got to put in the work. You know,
For sure.
and that's what I see you doing.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, I put in the work. Anyone can tell you I spend countless hours in the gym, more than my family would like me to, but it pays off in the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What was the biggest win of your career versus a city school?
Well, God. I mean, well, obviously it's got to be the Granada one. It's it finally, Carson High is a football school. You know, first and foremost, first, second, third. It's always been. It's got this long tradition. Fortunately, not recently, but it's always been a football school. And we've had some good basketball teams and track teams. And finally, I mean, we've actually had some, I want to say 4 or 5 city championships for girls volleyball. So finally to put boys volleyball on the map, it just, and to be a Carson grad and to still be part of that community and to have so many, obviously the current faculty and staff, but so many alumni that were there and to congratulate me was so satisfying. So this is awesome.
Mm-hmm. What was your most disappointing loss to a city school?
Uh, Yeah, it feels like a cliche, but I really struggled after losing to Pally. Again, you do it once is luck, do it twice is skill, and I wanted that validation for myself, and I kicked myself, like I said, not making the lineup change sooner and making a certain lineup change. Now, would that have altered the outcome? I don't know, you know. But yeah, to be able to do back to back, that's, man, that to see Carson twice in a row on the trophy would have been something special.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're looking for validation, I mean, making the finals is tough enough as it is, but to do it twice, I mean, that's something crazy, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
applaud to you for that. Um,
Thank you.
last question for you. Do you have anything else you want to tell your alumni or your seniors that couldn't finish their season?
Oh, you guys know I love you. You know that the program, you have carried on tradition in the hardest times. And for the injured players, you were still there in practice. You were cheering on. You came to the tournaments. You came to the games. And you just, you got to move on. Move on to college and take this as a learning life lesson to learn that you overcame it. And we don't always get the fairy book endings, but you work hard. And you will be remembered, seniors.
Mm-hmm. That's Ralph Mertens for you guys. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, maybe leave a like, maybe subscribe. We'll see you next week with a new episode of the LA Volleyball Podcast. Thanks, guys.